Today you will be solving rational equations. So a rational equations, this is an equation containing one or more rational expressions. And the example there provided, so see we have some fractions and some of them have an x in the denominator. So remember, a rational expression is something of which there's an x in the denominator of the fraction. So if we look off in the thinking bubble here, how did you solve something like this a long time ago, probably back in algebra? Well, how we're going to approach this is we're going to identify what the common denominator here is, and our common denominator between 4 and 8 is 8. So if we multiply both sides by 8, let's see what happens. When we multiply both sides by 8, it's like we're going to distribute the 8 to both terms in the parentheses. So 8 times x over 4, and I like to change it to be like plus negative so that I don't forget to distribute the negative. And then notice if we have plus 8 times negative 1/8, and that equals 3/4 times 8. Now, we know 4 goes into 8 twice, and so we're left with 2x, okay? And as we move along, 8's cancel here, so 2x minus 1 equals 4 goes into 8 twice, and 3 times 2 is 6. And then it becomes very simple to solve. So we'll add 1 to both sides, okay? And we'll have 2x equals 7, or x equals 7 over 2. Now, when you check for extraneous solutions at this time, when you plug 7/2 in for x, for rational equation, remember a function is undefined if the denominator is equal to 0. So in this case, when I substitute 7/2 back into the original, we don't have that issue. So this is where we stop. Okay, so these are the steps that we are going to follow. The first thing, notice we will multiply both sides by the lowest common denominator. We will then distribute if necessary, as we did in our simple example. Then we will solve the equation for x. And last but not least, we'll double check for extraneous solutions. Okay, so those are our 4 steps. Okay, so in this first example, first thing we're going to do is we're going to identify the common denominator. And this one on the far right is like 2 divided by 1. So the common denominator of 4, 3, and 1 is 12. So we are going to multiply both sides by 12. Oh, sorry. Okay. And remember, I'm going to distribute on the left side. Okay, so we'll have 12 times x plus 2 over 4 minus 12 times x minus 1 over 3 equals, and I can go ahead and multiply the right side, 24. Okay, so now we will simplify our fractions by reducing them. And we know 4 goes into 12 3 times, so we'll have 3 times x plus 2. 3 goes into negative 12, negative 4, and then we'll have times x minus 1 equals 24. And then this becomes an equation that's simple for us to solve. We'll distribute the 3, so 3x plus 6. We'll distribute a negative 4 to x and minus 1, so we'll have negative 4x plus 4. And this will equal 24. When you combine like terms, you do get negative x plus 10 equals 2. When you subtract 10 on both sides, you will get negative x equals negative 8, or x equals 8. Now, when we go to check for extraneous solutions, 8 plus 2 is 10, 10 fourths, which is 5/2, minus 7 thirds, does that equal 2? Use a calculator to find out. Unless I made a mistake. Oh, yep, I did. No wonder. Forgot the 4 and the 24. That's silly. Okay, so let me erase. Let me erase here. Okay, so once we fix our problem, then I believe we'll be okay. We get negative x equals 14 or x equals negative 14, and that one does work. Okay. I want you to take a few minutes and try this example you try. Okay, so hopefully with this one you do get x equal to 1. If we look at our next type of problem, notice we have a fraction equal to a fraction, okay? So our lowest common denominator, it doesn't really make sense for us to factor the denominators because 5x minus 2 is not going to have anything in common with 4 minus 2x. So we're going to multiply both sides of our fraction by the denominator's product because that is their lowest common denominator. So we'll do 5x minus 2 times 4 minus 2x on both sides of the equation. Okay, so now in our next step, what we'll do is we'll eliminate things that match in both top and bottom. So remember when you multiply something on either side, it's like it over 1. So the 5x minus 2's will cancel, and on the left side of the equation, we'll have 5 times 4 minus 2x. On the right side, the 4 minus 2x's cancel, and we're left with 3 times 5x minus 2. Okay, so this becomes something simple for us to solve. We're going to distribute on both sides. So we'll have 20x minus, oh, not 20x, what am I doing? 20 minus 10x equals 15x minus 6. And then to solve for x, I would put my x's on the right so that they're positive. And x's cancel, 6's cancel, 26 equals 25x. And notice here we will get x to equal 26 over 25. Now, when you plug 26 over 25 in for either x, you get 0 in the bottom of the fraction. And the answer to that is no, so we are okay with that answer. I want you to take a minute or two and try the example you try. Okay, so hopefully for this problem, you do get x to equal 10 over 13. And when you check for extraneous solutions, you don't get 0 in either denominator, so we are good. Okay, so in this next type of problem, we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to multiply both sides by the common denominator, which in this case is 6 and x minus 6. So 6 times x minus 6 multiplied on either side of the equal sign. And now we can reduce our fractions. So notice on the left side, the x minus 6's will cancel and we're left with 6 times 4x plus 3. On the right side, notice just the 6's cancel, so we're left with 9 times x minus 6. And from here, it becomes easier for us to solve, right? We're going to distribute the 6 and the 9 on either side of the equal sign. So 24x plus 18 equals 9x minus 54. And then to solve for x, I'm going to put my x's on the left this time, so my x's stay positive. Okay, so we know 24 take away 9 is 15x, and negative 54 minus 18 is negative 72. And when you divide both sides by 15, we have x equals, now 72 and 15 are both divisible by 3. 3 goes into negative 72, negative 24 times, and 3 goes into 15 5 times. And when you plug that into x for the first denominator, you don't get 0, so we're good. I want you to take a minute and try the example you try. Okay, so hopefully for this problem, you did get x to equal 11 over 4, and because you don't get 0 in the left denominator, you're good to go. And so if we look at our last example, Notice we have a common denominator of x and x minus 8. So because, remember, we multiply both sides and then we end up distributing, we really technically just write the lowest common denominator next to each fraction. Okay, so that is what I will do here. So we'll do x times x minus 8. Oh. And the first fraction is 5 over x, and then I'm going to change this to b plus negative, plus x times x minus 8 times negative 1 over x minus 8 equals x times x minus 8 times 0. Okay, and notice here the x's cancel out on the far left, and we're left with 5 times x minus 8. In the middle, the x minus 8's cancel out, and we're left with minus 1x. And on the right, remember 0 times anything is just 0. Okay, so now it becomes relatively simple for us to solve. When we distribute the 5 through the x minus 8, we will have 5x minus 40 minus x equals 0, or 4x minus 40 equals 0. 4x would equal 40, and x would equal 10. Okay, and even if you were to put 10 in either denominator, you're not going to get an extraneous solution or 0, so we are good. Just word of caution, please do not be that person that does this. Not good. But you can do practice. The end.